Hello everyone. Today I'll be giving my informative speech on Singapore. Here's my audience, my mom and my younger brother. Today I will provide a look into Singapore. I will talk about their seemingly brief history, as well as the subcultures that make up a modern Singaporean that stem from Chinatown, Little India, and Arab Street. So Singapore got its name, Singapura, which is the Malay word for Singapore, when an Indonesian prince landed in Singapore and swore he heard a lion's roar. But this is difficult because there are no lions in Singapore and there never have been. There were tigers at one point, but never any lions. And of course, he's the prince, so no one wanted to correct him, so he went ahead and declared this land Singapura, Singa meaning lion and Pura meaning city. And so the name, the Lion City, has just kind of stuck around. So Singapore gained their independence from the United Kingdom on August 9th, 1965, and they have only been an independent nation for 51 years. It seems like they have a very brief history, but it's quite the opposite. Historians have found written documentation of Singapore being used as a port as early as the 14th century. They've discovered evidence that Chinese porcelain, as well as stoneware, and locally made pottery were among the goods traded here. Due to its location, Singapore became connected to the Malay archipelago, China, Thailand, and India through this trade and politics. However, though, in 1819, Sir Stamford Raffles and Major William Farquhar of Great Britain landed in Singapore, claiming the nation as a British trading port, and they made it open to all nations and duty-free. In 1867, Singapore officially became a crown colony and remained under the rule of the British for many years. During my time here, I have noticed that there is a strong anti-British sentiment among the Singaporeans, and this is due to the fact that when the British took over, they brought in a lot of military and set up different camps here, including the Sembawang camp, which they still use today, but it is run by the Singapore military, not the British military anymore. On February 15, 1942, after fighting with the Japanese for a while, the British forces in Singapore surrendered and Singapore was put under Japanese military command. They stayed under this command until the Japanese surrendered to the Allies at the end of World War II in 1945. Singapore is now considered a republic. Singapore has a population of 5,353,494 on an island that is only about 687 kilometers squared. The currency they use here in Singapore is the Singapore dollar, and English is considered their official business language here, although most locals speak Malay or some form of Chinese. As immigrants arrived in Singapore over the years, they began forming communities amongst themselves. These communities consisted of people that had similar cultural backgrounds, and they came together in this new place trying to make it feel more like home. These divisions occurred at first they were natural, but then Stamford Raffles stepped in and made these divisions official. And among the official divisions, there were smaller groups that separated, and this was very evident in Chinatown, where residents began forming clans or help associations. And members of these clans were often related, and this membership required proving your heritage through your surname. And for my job here, we do local day trips through Singapore, and we went on a walking tour of Chinatown, and we were able to stop into one of the first clan buildings here. It was the help association for the Lee clan, and it was really neat because we got to see pictures of the founding members as well as letters from their beginning days here in Singapore. And within the clans, there were 4 main divisions that the clans would fall into: the Hokkiens, Teochew, Cantonese, and Hakkas. And these divisions were separated mainly by your profession. So some were cooks, some were businessmen, some were traders, and some were laborers. Chinatown in Singapore is home to one of the most unique occurrences in the world. While in Chinatown, not only can you see the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple, which supposedly houses a tooth from Siddhartha Gautama, but if you leave the Buddha temple and go to the next building over, you're at a mosque. And if you leave the mosque and go to the next building, you're at an Indian temple. And not only do you have all of these on the same street, but if you turn around and look at the opposite side of the street, there's a Christian Methodist church. And I feel that this basically sums up Singaporean culture as best as it could be summed up. A mixture of different cultures and religions living alongside each other and coexisting peacefully. There's a section of Singapore that we call Little India, and it consists of an area between Selegie Road and Lavender Street, and the main attractions here are found on a road called Serangoon Road, which was indicated on a map found from 1828 as the road leading across the island. So this was, for a long time, the main road across the island. And now you can go and experience just what it says, Little India. You go there and you find goods from India, traditional Indian dishes, traditional Indian materials as well. And right now, Little India is decorated for a Hindu holiday called Deepavali, which symbolizes light overcoming darkness, good overcoming evil. And they have different colorful lanterns that they will light at the end of each day to symbolize and celebrate this holiday. And then Arab Street is an area that Sir Stamford Raffles designated as the most appropriate area for Arabs to live. It is also known as Kampong Glam or Arab Kampong, which means Muslim quarters. Singapore has a large population of Malay Muslims. In Arab Street, though, you find Muslims from all over. You have Arab Muslims, Indian, Bugis, and Boyanese. For many years, Arab Street was used as a town center, and they used it for meetings and different discussions, but now it's one of the main shopping streets, as well as trading centers. And before I moved to Singapore, I was told by different people that had either heard about it or lived here, lots of different things. And so now that I've been here for about 2 months, I have been able to kind of figure out for myself which ones are facts and which ones are more fiction. And so one thing that I was told quite often was, it's a very nice place to live because everyone speaks English. And so far, I haven't run into anyone that doesn't speak English, but I can tell that it's definitely not the preferred language here, although it is helpful because all the signs have directions in English as well as typically 3 other languages, and that is very helpful when you're trying to navigate this train system here. They also mentioned that it was very clean here, and I haven't found this to be so true. There is trash pretty much everywhere because Singapore itself as a nation is one big city, and there are lots and lots of people condensed into small areas, so it's hard to keep up with the trash that we create. But if you go to the more touristy areas, it's a little bit cleaner, so that, I guess, depends on which part of town you're in. And then they also mentioned that it was very expensive here, and this is definitely true. When I go to the local grocery store market, I can see that a pint of ice cream costs $27, so it's needless to say I have not had much ice cream since I've been here. They also said that the food is very delicious, and this depends on who you are and how adventurous you are when it comes to trying new foods. And I myself am quite picky, so I have been trying to stretch my wings a little and try some different things. And there are hawker stalls where you can get an Indian dish or a Chinese dish or Thai, so it definitely has many opportunities to try new foods. And to wrap it all up, Singapore is an extremely diverse society that has opened my eyes to new traditions and cultures, and if any of you ever get the time and money, it's definitely worth the 30-hour flight to get here and experience all that Singapore has to offer.